Hello, Qualitas. We are here for one more video of the 5 best Ranger swordsmen in the Power Rangers universe. Take into consideration that we will be choose who are the best sword user or with best sword style. Maybe some of you here can beat another, however, we are going to take the one who knows how to move the sword better. So let's get started. Number 5, Antonio Garcia, the Golden Samurai Ranger.
Samurai Morpher! Gold Power!
He is a very distracted boy, but with great energy, who would do anything to fulfill his dreams and protect his friends. He always wanted to be a samurai since he was a child, along with his friend Jaden. He trained for many years. Although he is not the son of a samurai, he worked very hard and trained a lot to be a good samurai. He has trained since he was a child, either with Jaden and even after he left. He trained for days without rest to be able to accompany Jaden on his mission. And being a good person with his sword, he discovered how to communicate with him through messages, thus giving him the golden power. So he learned how to use his Barracuda sword like no one else has used it. Being so agile and so strong, he may be one of the few who could fight Jaden and even beat Kevin, the second best swordsman in the team. His style is extremely fast, so it is very difficult to react to his cuts. Being able to defeat multiple enemies at the same time, it seems that he had not moved a centimeter from his place. He has managed to cut his enemies before they notice it. His handling of the sword is masterful, and he is also able to fight using a sword and shield style like no other. Therefore, it could be considered that he knows two different sword styles. He is able to make cuts at super speed while advancing or even while running. Antonio dominates the style of scythe and sword like no other ranger in history, managing to defeat multiple enemies at the same time without being touched using this style. He is so fast and skilled with his style that he can cut and stop arrows that have been shot at short or medium range. His cuts are so strong and sharp that he can cut trees and stones by accident while fighting or while cutting his enemies, so the cut goes through the trees and the nylocks at the same time. It has a special mode where it can attack at maximum speed. It seems that time stops and gives multiple cuts in milliseconds. In case the enemy is far away, it can throw morphic energy cuts with its sword so that the enemy to the contact explodes or is cut by it. Bruce Lee once said that he didn't fear anyone who knew 1,000 kicks, but he fears anyone who had practiced 1,000 times the same kick. Therefore, Anthony took this to perfection, having practiced the same style for many years, until he was able to master it better than those who had known more techniques or had more training. And not having more weapons than the Barracuda sword, that forced him to be the best with the sword style he had until perfection, becoming one of the best swordsmen in the Power Ranger universe. Number 4, Riley Griffin, the Green Dino Charge Ranger.
Dino Charger!
Raptor Charger, engage!
Energize!
He is a lover of fencing who desires with all his heart to be a swordsman. As Zenoing student, he has developed incredible skills such as being able to reflect projectiles that come towards him such as high-speed balls, lasers, or monster rays. He has managed to make perfect cuts while jumping, while running, and even while being attacked. Riley can learn to imitate swordsmanship techniques just by seeing them once. He can fight multiple enemies at the same time, using only his sword. Riley endured a fight even when he was in a body that was not his, being able to still master the sword, even when his body was not so right for this. Riley copied the technique of Zenoing and personalized it to be able to do it better, being called the Green Prism, and having almost the same power as the one from Zenoing. Riley practices daily without rest, so he is always constantly evolving and improving his style and techniques. Therefore, he is always developing something new or perfecting what he already knows. Riley can beat villain by himself, although this should not be very strong, since he has not yet reached that level, but he can beat him only using the sword. Riley is extremely intelligent, so this has helped him to create new techniques or improve the ones he already knew using more science or common sense. He has a style where he uses his saber in an unconventional way, using the handle in an inverted way, perfecting this style to mastery. He can put energy into his sword and with this make it bigger and longer, like the style of a whip or a very long sword. He has managed to cut stones, even a robot or metal on certain occasions. He has surpassed Ivan in the handling of the sword. Even though Ivan is a medieval knight with a great technique and is legendary, Riley has a very smooth style where he cuts his enemies, but moves a lot and makes pirouettes and tries to avoid the attacks of his opponents, being the exception when fighting against swordsmen. There he focuses merely on the use of the sword, Stokes, and trying to have an equal combat. So, thanks to his perfectionism, discipline and great effort, he could be considered as the best swordsman if he had a little more time to practice. If he had more time to train since he was a child, let's be sure that at this moment he would be a great master since he is a prodigy in the use of the sword. But he is still not the best in the entire Ranger universe. However, he is one of the best Rangers in the use of the sword in the entire Power Rangers universe. Number 3, Doggy Kruger, the SPD Shadow Ranger.
SPD emergency! Shadow Ranger!
Is the leader of SPD and commander of the Earth, being an old warrior and very skilled in the use of the sword, having in his power one of the strongest and most resistant swords in the universe, the Shadow Saber. He practiced his style since before Groom's attack on his planet, being one of the most skilled swordsmen on his planet. When Groom attacked, he fought with his sword until the end, demonstrating his high capacity with it. Doggy is so skilled with this one that he didn't need to transform to defeat aliens and monsters with it. He achieved mastery with his Shadow Saber and managed to master multiple techniques, one as a backstab from his opponent right in the middle to be able to mobilize them. He can make cuts as strong as to be able to break swords of his opponents through metal. He has such an incredible sword ability that he can defeat multiple villains at the same time. He has been able to defeat villains that the Rangers could not defeat only with a one cut. He can defend himself from lightning, lasers that have been fired at him, and at the same time redirect them as if he were a Jedi. He has been able to make perfect cuts, even jumping or doing pirouettes. He has managed to defeat Jack the Red Ranger of SPD in a sword fight, being Jack one of the most skillful swordsmen that exist, since he has managed to defeat Katana, an alien samurai with an impeccable and masterly skill. A legend, one of the best samurai in history, Doggy can unleash forces of energy capable of cutting and exploiting contact. He has defeated an army of 100 Groom's robots alone without being injured and using only his sword. He has defeated Groom with his sword, being one of the strongest and most resistant villains to the moment of combat, including one of the most skillful. He has a special attack where he makes an unstoppable cut and that cuts anything by putting morphic energy in the Shadow Saber and that nothing can stop him. He has withstood cuts from the Ocean Saber and fought with X-Fear, a tricky and more skillful swordsman. However, he has still managed to beat him, improving his style even more. For all this and more, we can see that Doogie Kruger is one of the best swordsmen in the entire Ranger universe, being a master with his style and his Shadow Saber. Number 2, Zenoing, the Silver Dino Charge Ranger.
Energize! Unleash the power! Titanosaurus! Power Ranger! Silver!
He is an old friend of the Guardian who created the Zords of the Power Rangers Dino Charge to face the different threats of the future. He is an old protector of his planet and in charge of the Dark Energem, so he learned the use of the sword to be able to protect it. He is one of the best swordsmen of all time and increasing his abilities by being chosen by the Silver Energem to be a ranger. Zenoing has done a lot of stuffs with his Titan Saber, such as cutting the monsters of Arcannon and Slay, defeating Arcannon in combat by cutting a part of his shoulder, fighting against Doomwing, an evil copy of him with all his techniques and skills, and still be able to beat him. He can fight while he flies, since he has wings which allows him to fly through the skies and continue fighting even in that territory. He can cut rocks, trees, metal, and even break swords. He can charge his sword with morphic energy to cast an energy cut or cut his enemies with a single cut. He can defeat multiple enemies at once just by using his sword. He can defeat all the Rangers in combat just with his sword, even when Riley and Ivan are on the team. Zenoing can easily defeat Riley in a sword fight. Zenoing can defeat villains, he alone without the need to transform, and at the same time resist attacks from the enemy strong enough to knock out other Rangers. Zenoing, by transforming into a Ranger, has managed to acquire more power, strength, speed, reflexes, and energy, which allows him to have an increase in power when fighting and not being necessary to be able to fight monsters like other Rangers. Therefore, he is strong enough to be able to fight other monsters as if nothing. Zenoing has a final technique, which he calls the Silver Prison, which could defeat multiple opponents with a single cut. He is so skillful with his cuts, he can choose where exactly he wants to cut and how deep he wants to cut, being able to give a rhomboid shape to a very large stone with only 3 cuts. Thus, Thanks to his mastery with the sword, his superior cutting skills and his great strength, he is considered one of the best swordsmen in the Power Rangers universe. Number 1. Jaden and Lauren Shiba, the Red Samurai Rangers. You can't tell who's the best between them. They're both perfect samurais, since Lauren trained all her life without rest and without distractions, hidden like the chosen one to defeat Master Xander. And you can see how she's supposed to be able to do anything that Jaden has done, and even improve it. However, Jaden has something that she does not. He has an unbreakable willpower and at the same time a capacity to never give up, taking him to move forward and also using his warrior heart to win his battles. We can see how Jaden has trained since he was a child, mastering all the samurai techniques to perfection. Being the best swordsman in the entire Ranger universe, he has managed to master the Disc of Fire and master a giant sword with such intense fire that even as a ranger he can be burned. He has mastered the Shark Sword, which can be stretched and used as a whip. He has defeated Decker, the human half-nightlord who lived only to fight, being the best samurai that has ever existed, and never defeated during the samurai and modern era. And after a great battle, Jaden has managed to defeat him twice. He is capable of fighting and defeating enemies without the need to transform. He can change the sword by hand to perform perfect or faster attacks. He can break swords with his own sword. He is able to see and react to Antonio's super fast cuts and even follow him. He can kick his sword so that it attacks enemies at long distances and fits them directly to them. He is able to fight and defeat Kevin, one of the best samurais and most skilled and technical of all time, thanks to the fact that Jaden is more unpredictable and has more experience. Jaden has so much experience fighting that he has given him a type of ultra instinct where he already knows what the rival will do and can react. Jaden has a berserker mode when he is sufficiently angry or motivated, being able to defeat any enemy that is put in front of him, as it increases all his physical abilities and his handling with the sword. Jaden and Lauren can redirect arrows, lasers, and discs easily as if they were a Jedi. They can do a fire slash that creates a giant flare and can do slashes with flare and fire. They are capable of cutting metal, stone, trees, and robots as if they were nothing. They can increase all their abilities with the Super Samurai mode. They can fight blindly, feeling their surroundings only with their ears. Jaden managed to beat Scott Truman, the Red RPM Ranger, in a sword fight as if he were nothing, although, according to them, it was fake. You could see the superiority in Jaden's sword handling. They can fight on horses. They have a super cut where they can charge their sword with morphic energy to be able to cut without anything stopping them, creating a cut at maximum speed. They can fill their sword with morphic energy strong enough to be able to throw it and, at the moment of contact with the enemy, explode or cut. Jaden has been able to use his sword to cover himself from different attacks in all angles, be it in the back, be it in the front, be it on the sides, and in a super fast way. Knowing that he has total control over the sword and always with a style that allows him to continue with any cut. He has no pause in his style. His style will always allow him to continue moving with all the elegance and with all the strength to be able to make multiple cuts. And Lauren can imitate these same techniques and all that has just been mentioned, since this one also has all the skills that, unfortunately, Jaden can do. Jaden and Lauren never give up. They will always keep fighting because they know that the world depends on them. This allows them to perform techniques that others could not, since they constantly risk their lives to achieve their goals. This is done by the best samurai and swordsman in the entire Power Ranger universe. Therefore, they would be the strongest and at the same time the best swordsman in the entire universe. But what do you think, Colitas? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I missed any other ranger with a better sword knowledge, technique, or a better use of this one? Leave it in the comments section. Don't forget to leave your like, please subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you want more videos just like this one, we'll see you on this same channel. Bye.